3 in the morning, and I'm standing in my kitchen like some discount detective, holding a cup of coffee that tastes like burnt regret. The house creaks around me. Old bones settling, Victoria would say. She's upstairs, probably dreaming about her next networking event or whatever she calls these late-night adventures nowadays. My name is Daniel Ashford, and I fix things for a living. Not the glamorous kind of fixing. I restore old furniture, refinish cabinets, make broken things whole again. It's honest work, the kind that leaves sawdust under your fingernails and satisfaction in your chest. At least, it used to. The kitchen light flickers, casting shadows that dance across the granite countertops Victoria insisted we needed. For entertaining, she'd said. Funny how we never seem to entertain anyone here anymore. All her socializing happens elsewhere, with her guy friends. That phrase sits in my mouth like sour milk. Guy friends. As if the label makes it innocent, makes it normal for a married woman to spend more time with other men than with her husband. As if calling them friends erases the way she lights up when Tyler Brennan texts, or how she laughs at Marcus Webb's jokes, the kind of laugh she used to save for me. I hear footsteps on the stairs. Victoria appears in the doorway, hair mussed, wearing that silk robe I bought her for our anniversary last year. She looks at me with that expression I've grown to recognize, part annoyance, part amusement, like I'm a child who's wandered into the adult's conversation. Can't sleep again? She asks, but there's no real concern in her voice, just that tone she uses when she's already decided I'm being unreasonable. Just thinking, I say. She moves to the refrigerator, pulls out a bottle of water. Her movements are calculated, graceful. Victoria has always been beautiful, the kind of woman who turns heads in restaurants and makes other men wonder how someone like me ended up with someone like her. These days, I wonder the same thing. Thinking about what? She leans against the counter, studying me with those green eyes that once made me forget my own name. About your guy friends. The words hang in the air between us like smoke. Victoria's mouth curves into that smirk, the one that's become as familiar as her morning routine. It's not quite a smile, not quite a sneer. It's something worse, dismissal wrapped in condescension. You're really jealous of my guy friends? She says, and there it is, the reframe. My legitimate concerns twisted into insecurity, my reasonable questions painted as weakness. Her guy friends aren't the problem, I am, for daring to question her sophisticated social life. I look at her for a long moment. This woman I married 8 years ago. This stranger who shares my bed and my mortgage, but not my concerns. The smirk deepens, victory dancing in her eyes. She thinks she's won this conversation before it started. No, I say, my voice flat and final. Not anymore. The smirk falters for just a second, confusion flickering across her features like a candle in wind. But then it's back, stronger than before. Good, she says, pushing off from the counter. Because Marcus is just a friend from work and Tyler, well, Tyler's harmless. They're both good guys, Daniel. You'd like them if you gave them a chance. She moves past me, close enough that I catch her scent. Something expensive and floral that I don't remember buying her. Her hand brushes my shoulder, a gesture that might have been affectionate once but now feels like a pat you'd give a nervous dog. Try to get some sleep, she says, already heading for the stairs. Some of us have important meetings in the morning. I stand there in the kitchen, listening to her footsteps retreat, listening to the house settle around me. The coffee has gone cold in my hands, but I don't move to warm it. Instead, I think about her words, about the casual way she dismissed my concerns, about the smirk that said everything she didn't. That same night, I made a decision she never imagined I'd make. By 4:30, I'm in my workshop in the basement, surrounded by the tools and projects that make sense in ways my marriage no longer does. There's a Victorian dresser I've been restoring for Mrs. Henderson down the street. Solid oak, beautiful bones, just needs someone to care enough to bring out its potential again. I run my hands over the smooth wood, feeling for imperfections. This is what I understand: taking something damaged and making it whole. What I don't understand is how Victoria became someone I don't recognize, or when I became someone she could dismiss with a smirk. But maybe that's the wrong way to think about it. Maybe the question isn't when she changed. Maybe it's when I stopped paying attention. My phone buzzes. A text from Charles Sinclair, my financial advisor and one of the few friends I have left who doesn't work at Victoria's law firm. Early morning? Everything okay? Charles has been handling our investments for 3 years now, ever since Victoria decided we needed professional financial management. He's solid, discreet, and most importantly, he's my friend first. Victoria tolerates him because he makes us money, but she's never bothered to charm him the way she does with everyone else. Can we meet today? I text back. Need to discuss some account changes. Sure. Coffee at 9? Perfect. I set the phone aside and return to the dresser, but my hands are restless now, my mind spinning. Victoria's confidence upstairs, the way she said Tyler was harmless, the casual mention of Marcus from work, it all feels rehearsed, like lines she's practiced in front of a mirror. The thing about restoring furniture is that you learn to see beneath the surface. A piece might look solid from the outside, but run your hands along the joints, check the corners, examine the places where stress accumulates, and you'll find the truth. Loose screws, water damage, rot hiding beneath fresh paint. I've been married to Victoria for 8 years. Maybe it's time I started examining the joints. At 7, I hear the shower running upstairs. Victoria's morning routine is as predictable as sunrise. Shower, coffee, 20 minutes on hair and makeup, then out the door by 8:15 for her job at Hartwell & Associates. She's a paralegal there, working mostly for the senior partners on corporate cases. Good money, regular hours, plenty of opportunities for networking. Networking. Another word that's lost its innocence in our house. I make breakfast. Eggs, toast, coffee strong enough to wake the neighbors. Victoria appears at 8 sharp, looking like she stepped out of a magazine. Navy suit, hair pulled back in that style that makes her look professional and untouchable. She's beautiful, and she knows it, and she's learned to use it. Smells good, she says, but she doesn't sit down. Instead, she grabs a piece of toast and her travel mug, already moving toward the door. Big day today? I ask. The Morrison case, she says, checking her phone. Depositions all morning, then lunch with the team to prep for next week. The team? That smirk again. Marcus will be there, maybe Tyler. He's consulting on the financial aspects. She looks up from her phone, meets my eyes. My guy friends, remember? The ones you're not jealous of anymore. The way she says it, like she's testing me, waiting to see if I'll react. When I don't, she shrugs and heads for the door. I'll be late tonight, she calls over her shoulder. Don't wait up. The door closes behind her with a soft click, and I'm alone with my breakfast and the growing certainty that my wife is lying to me. I give her 10 minutes, then I call Mrs. Ellison next door. She's 73, retired, and has the best view of our driveway from her kitchen window. More importantly, she's always liked me better than Victoria. Daniel, dear, how are you? Good, Mrs. Ellison. Listen, I'm expecting a delivery today, but I have to run out. Could you keep an eye out? Victoria said she might be home for lunch, but I'm not sure. It's a small lie, harmless, but it gives Mrs. Ellison permission to watch our house without feeling nosy. She's been doing it anyway. I've seen her curtains twitch when Victoria comes and goes at odd hours. Of course, dear, though I haven't seen Victoria's car during lunch hours lately. She's been keeping quite busy, hasn't she? There it is. Confirmation of what I already suspected. Victoria's not coming home for lunch, probably hasn't been for weeks. So where is she going when she says she's working late or meeting the team? She has, I agree. Very busy. After I hang up, I sit in the quiet kitchen and think about trust. About how it erodes slowly, like water wearing away stone, until one day you look down and realize you're standing on nothing solid. Charles is waiting for me at the coffee shop downtown, a place called Grind that serves decent coffee and minds its own business. He's already claimed a corner table, laptop open, looking every inch the successful financial advisor in his pressed khakis and polo shirt. "You look like hell," he says by way of greeting. Charming as always. I sit down across from him, grateful for the normalcy of his bluntness. Charles doesn't do small talk or social niceties. It's one of the things I like about him. "So what's this about account changes? Please tell me you're not thinking about day trading or cryptocurrency or some other midlife crisis nonsense." "Nothing like that." I lean forward, lower my voice. "I need to understand our financial picture, everything. Joint accounts, individual accounts, investments, the house, all of it." Charles studies my face, his expression shifting from casual to concerned. "Daniel, what's going on?" "I think Victoria might be having an affair." The words sit between us like a confession. Charles doesn't react with surprise or sympathy. He's too practical for that. Instead, he nods slowly, the way he does when he's processing information. "How sure are you?" "Sure enough to want options." He closes his laptop, gives me his full attention. "Okay, let's talk about options." Charles spreads the papers across the table like a general planning a campaign. Bank statements, investment summaries, property deeds, the financial skeleton of my marriage laid bare in black and white. "The good news," he says, "is that you've been smart about keeping some assets separate. The workshop, your tools, the truck, all in your name. The bad news is that most of your wealth is tied up in joint accounts, and the house." I study the numbers, seeing 8 years of shared decisions reflected in deposits and withdrawals, the house payment, utilities, groceries, Victoria's car payment, normal married couple expenses, except for one thing. "What's this?" I point to a series of withdrawals from our joint savings account. Small amounts, 200 here, 300 there, but consistent over the past 6 months. Charles frowns, pulls out his reading glasses. "A TM withdrawals, all from the same location downtown." He shows me the address. "That's near Victoria's office. She has her own checking account for personal expenses." "Exactly." Charles leans back in his chair. "So why is she pulling cash from your joint savings?" Cash is anonymous. Cash doesn't leave a trail. Cash is what you use when you don't want your husband to see where you're spending money. "I need copies of everything," I say. "And I need to know about protecting assets if this goes where I think it's going." Charles nods, already making notes. "I can set up a separate account for you, start moving some funds. Nothing dramatic, nothing that would raise flags but enough to give you breathing room. As for the house..." "What about it?" "Maine is an equitable distribution state. In a divorce, assets get divided fairly, not necessarily equally. But the house is your biggest asset, and both your names are on the deed." Divorce. The word hangs in the air between us, making everything real in a way it wasn't before. I've been thinking about betrayal, about lies, about the smirk on Victoria's face. But Charles is thinking about the practical aftermath, the legal and financial reality of a marriage ending. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves," I say. "First, I need to know for sure. How are you planning to find out?" I think about Mrs. Ellison's comment, about Victoria's late nights and lunch meetings that don't happen at home, about the cash withdrawals and the way she lights up when certain names appear on her phone. "I'm going to pay attention," I say. "Really pay attention. For the first time in months." That afternoon, I drive by Victoria's office building. Hartwell and Associates occupies the 3rd floor of a converted warehouse downtown, all exposed brick and industrial windows. Victoria's car is in the parking lot, a silver BMW that she insisted we lease because it projects success. I park across the street and wait. This feels ridiculous, like something out of a bad movie, but I need to know. If Victoria is having lunch meetings, I want to see who she's meeting with. 12:30 comes and goes. No Victoria. At 1 o'clock, I'm about to give up when I see her emerge from the building. She's not alone. The man walking beside her is tall, well-dressed, with the kind of confident stride that suggests he's used to being important. He's younger than me, maybe mid-30s, with the lean build of someone who spends serious time at the gym. Designer suit, expensive watch, the whole package. They walk to his car, a black Tesla that probably costs more than I make in a year. He opens the passenger door for her, and she slides in with the kind of smile I haven't seen from her in months. Bright, genuine, the smile she used to give me when we were dating. I follow them at a distance, feeling like a private investigator in a story I never wanted to be part of. They drive to an upscale restaurant on the waterfront, the kind of place Victoria and I went to for our anniversary, the kind of place where lunch for two costs what most people spend on groceries for a week. I park where I can see the entrance and wait. They're inside for 2 hours. 2 hours for a business lunch seems excessive, even by Victoria's standards. When they finally emerge, they're walking close together, her hand on his arm, both of them laughing at some private joke. He drives her back to her office, but before she gets out, they sit in the car for another 10 minutes. I can't see what they're doing from my position, but I don't need to. The body language tells me everything. Victoria gets out of the Tesla and walks back to her building without looking back. The man, Tyler, it has to be Tyler, drives away in the opposite direction. I wait until Victoria's safely inside, then I follow the Tesla. Tyler Brennan lives in Harborview Towers, the newest luxury development in town. Waterfront condos starting at $500,000, the kind of place where young professionals go to show off their success. I watch him park in the underground garage. Then I drive home to my workshop and my Victorian dresser and the growing certainty that my marriage is over. But knowing and proving are different things. If I'm going to confront Victoria, I need more than suspicion and circumstantial evidence. I need something concrete, something she can't dismiss with a smirk and a clever explanation. That evening, Victoria comes home at her usual time, cheerful and relaxed. She kisses my cheek, a perfunctory gesture, and asks about my day. Quiet, I say. Worked on Mrs. Henderson's dresser. How was your lunch meeting? Productive. She's already moving toward the stairs, phone in hand. The Morrison case is more complicated than we thought, but Tyler has some interesting ideas about the financial aspects. Tyler. She says his name like it's natural, like mentioning another man to her husband is the most normal thing in the world. Maybe it is, if the other man is just a friend, just a colleague, just someone helping with a case. But I saw them together. I saw her smile, saw the way she touched his arm, saw the 2-hour lunch that looked nothing like a business meeting. Tyler seems helpful, I say. He is. Victoria pauses at the bottom of the stairs, looks back at me. He's very good at what he does, very thorough. There's something in her tone, something that might be innocent if I didn't know what I know. But I do know, and the word thorough sounds like an inside joke, like a private reference to something I'm not supposed to understand. I'm sure he is, I say. Victoria studies my face for a moment, as if she's trying to read something there. Whatever she sees, or doesn't see, seems to satisfy her, because the smirk returns. Don't wait up, she says, already climbing the stairs. I have some work to finish tonight. Work, right. I wait until I hear her shower running, then I do something I never thought I would do. I check her phone. Victoria is usually careful about her phone, but tonight she left it charging on the kitchen counter. The screen is locked, but I know her passcode, our anniversary date, because she's sentimental about things that don't matter and careless about things that do. The text messages are a revelation. Tyler. Lunch was amazing. Can't stop thinking about dessert. Victoria. Patience. Good things come to those who wait. Marcus. Coast is clear tomorrow night. My place at 8? Victoria. Perfect. I'll bring wine. Tyler. When are you going to tell him? Victoria. Soon, after the Morrison case wraps up. He deserves better than this, but I can't help how I feel. I scroll through weeks of messages, each one a small betrayal, each one confirmation of what I already knew but hoped wasn't true. They're not just having an affair, they're planning a future without me. Victoria is going to leave me, probably after she figures out how to maximize her share of our assets. The shower is still running upstairs. I take photos of the messages with my own phone, then put Victoria's phone back exactly where I found it. My hands are steady, my breathing calm. I feel strangely detached, like I'm watching someone else's life fall apart. When Victoria comes downstairs 20 minutes later, hair damp, wearing yoga pants and a t-shirt, I'm sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee and a woodworking magazine. "Still up?" she says, surprised. "Couldn't concentrate on anything else." I look up at her, this woman who's been lying to me for months, who's planning to leave me for a man in a Tesla and a luxury condo. "Victoria, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Are you happy?" The question catches her off guard. She blinks, tilts her head slightly as if she's not sure she heard me correctly. "Happy? In our marriage? With me? With this life we've built together?" For a moment, her mask slips. I see something raw and uncertain in her expression, something that might be guilt or regret or just surprise at being asked directly. "Daniel," she starts, then stops. The mask slides back into place, and the smirk returns. "That's a strange question." "Is it?" "We're fine," she says, but her voice lacks conviction. "We're good. Why would you ask that?" I study her face, memorizing this moment. Tomorrow, everything changes. Tomorrow, I stop being the husband who doesn't notice, who doesn't question, who accepts smirks and dismissals as normal parts of marriage. "Just wondering," I say. "Just making sure." Victoria nods, but she's already distracted, already moving toward the stairs and whatever work she has waiting for her upstairs. "Good night, Daniel." "Good night." I sit in the kitchen until I hear her bedroom door close, then I go down to my workshop and start planning. Helena Blackwood has the kind of office that makes you feel like you're about to be either saved or destroyed, depending on which side of the table you're sitting on. Dark wood paneling, leather-bound law books, and a view of the harbor that probably costs more per month than most people's mortgage. She's been practicing family law in Maine for 25 years, and her reputation is simple. She wins. "Daniel Ashford," she says, gesturing to the chair across from her massive desk. "Charles Sinclair says you might need my services." Helena is in her 50s, silver-haired and sharp-eyed, with the kind of presence that commands attention. She's expensive, but Charles assured me she's worth every penny, especially in situations that require discretion and strategy. "I think my wife is having an affair," I say, getting straight to the point. "Multiple affairs, actually." Helena nods, pulls out a legal pad. "Tell me everything." I lay out the evidence, the text messages, the cash withdrawals, the lunch dates that last for hours, the late nights and weekend work sessions that don't happen at Victoria's office. Helena listens without interruption, taking notes in precise handwriting. "Have you confronted her?" she asks when I finish. "Not yet." "Good. Confrontation without preparation is just drama. Drama doesn't win cases." She leans back in her chair, studying me. "What do you want, Daniel? Reconciliation or divorce?" The question is blunt, practical, and it forces me to confront something I've been avoiding. What do I want? A month ago, I would have said I wanted my marriage back, wanted the woman I fell in love with to remember why she chose me. But that woman is gone, replaced by someone who smirks at my concerns and plans her future with other men. "Divorce," I say, "but I want it done right." Define right. I want to protect my assets. I want her affairs documented and entered into evidence. And I want her to understand that dismissing me was a mistake. Helena's smile is sharp as a blade. "Now we're talking. Maine recognizes adultery as grounds for divorce, and it can affect property division and spousal support. But we need solid evidence, not just text messages that could be explained away. What kind of evidence? Photos, video, financial records showing money spent on the affairs, witness testimony, the kind of evidence that makes denial impossible. She leans forward. Are you prepared to do what it takes to gather that evidence? I think about Victoria's smirk, about the casual way she mentioned Tyler's name, about the months of lies and the future she's planning without me. Yes, I say, I'm prepared. Helena spends the next hour outlining strategy. We'll need to document everything: dates, times, locations, financial transactions. I'll need to be careful not to do anything that could be construed as stalking or harassment. And most importantly, I'll need to be patient. The goal, she explains, is to build an airtight case before Victoria knows she needs a defense. Once she realizes you're on to her, she'll lawyer up and start covering her tracks. We want to catch her while she still thinks she's safe. I leave Helena's office with a plan and a retainer agreement that will cost me $10,000 up front. It's a lot of money, but Charles is right. Protecting assets in a divorce is like insurance. You hope you never need it, but when you do, you're grateful you have it. That afternoon, I drive to an electronics store and buy a small digital camera with a telephoto lens. The kid behind the counter assumes I'm a wildlife photographer or a proud grandfather. I don't correct him. Victoria has a standing appointment with Marcus tomorrow night. I saw it in her text messages. Coast is clear tomorrow night. My place at 8. Marcus Webb lives in a converted loft downtown, the kind of trendy space that appeals to young professionals who want to live where the action is. I spend the evening researching Marcus online. He works at Victoria's law firm as a junior associate, specializes in corporate law, graduated from University of Maine Law School 3 years ago. His social media profiles show a man who takes himself very seriously. Lots of photos at networking events, carefully staged shots of his loft, pictures of expensive meals at restaurants I can't afford. In several photos, Victoria appears beside him, always smiling, always perfectly positioned. The photos are dated over the past 6 months, coinciding with when the cash withdrawals from our joint account started. I study Marcus's face, trying to understand what Victoria sees in him. He's handsome in a conventional way, successful, ambitious, everything I'm not, apparently. But there's something in his expression, a smugness that reminds me of Tyler's confident stride, that suggests he's the kind of man who takes what he wants without considering the consequences. Tomorrow night, I'll find out exactly what he's been taking. The next day passes slowly. I work on Mrs. Henderson's dresser, sanding and refinishing, losing myself in the familiar rhythm of restoration. There's something soothing about taking something damaged and making it beautiful again, even when your own life is falling apart. Victoria leaves for work at her usual time, cheerful and distracted. She's wearing a new dress, black, fitted, more elegant than her usual office attire. The kind of dress you wear when you want to make an impression. "Working late again tonight?" she says, not quite meeting my eyes. The Morrison case is really heating up. "Of course it is," I say. She pauses at the door, turns back to look at me. For a moment, I think she might say something real, something honest. But then the mask slides back into place. "Don't wait up," she says, and she's gone. I give her a 10-minute head start, then I follow. Marcus Webb's loft is on the 3rd floor of a converted warehouse in the Arts District. The building has character, exposed brick, large windows, the kind of industrial chic that costs extra. I park across the street with a clear view of the entrance and settle in to wait. Victoria arrives at 8 sharp, carrying a bottle of wine and a small overnight bag. The bag is what convinces me this isn't a business meeting. She looks around nervously before entering the building, as if she's afraid of being seen. I wait 15 minutes, then I make my move. The building has a fire escape on the side, old iron stairs that probably haven't been inspected in years. I climb carefully, camera in hand, until I reach the 3rd floor. Marcus's loft faces the street, and the large windows that probably seemed so appealing in daylight now work against him. Through the telephoto lens, I can see everything. Victoria and Marcus are in the living room, sitting close together on a leather couch that probably cost more than my truck. They're drinking wine, talking, laughing. Victoria looks relaxed in a way I haven't seen in months, her guard down, her smile genuine. As I watch, Marcus reaches over and brushes a strand of hair from her face. It's an intimate gesture, tender, the kind of touch that speaks of familiarity and affection. Victoria leans into the touch, closes her eyes for a moment, and I capture it all through the camera lens. They move to the kitchen where Marcus is apparently cooking dinner. Victoria helps, and they work together with an easy rhythm that suggests this isn't their first time sharing a meal. They touch casually, a hand on a shoulder, fingers brushing as they pass a glass of wine, and each touch is another small betrayal, another piece of evidence. I take photos methodically, documenting everything. The wine Victoria brought, the overnight bag sitting by the door, the intimate way they move around each other. This isn't a business meeting or a casual friendship. This is a relationship, complete with domestic routines and comfortable silences. At 10:30, they move toward what must be the bedroom, and I stop taking photos. I've seen enough. I have what I need. The climb down the fire escape is harder than going up. My hands are shaking now, adrenaline and anger making me clumsy. But I make it to the ground without falling, without making enough noise to attract attention. I sit in my truck for a long time, looking at the photos on the camera's small screen. Each image is a nail in the coffin of my marriage, proof that Victoria has moved on without bothering to end things officially. She's building a life with Marcus while still married to me, still living in our house, still sharing our bed when it's convenient. The smart thing would be to go home, to wait for her to return tomorrow morning with whatever lie she's prepared to explain her absence. But I'm not feeling particularly smart right now. Instead, I drive to Anchor Bar, a dive near the waterfront that serves decent beer and doesn't ask questions. The bartender is a woman in her 40s named Jody, who's seen everything and judges nothing. She pours me a whiskey without being asked. "Rough night?" she says. "Getting rougher," I reply. I drink slowly, thinking about evidence and strategy and the conversation I'll have with Helena tomorrow. The photos will be enough to establish the affair, but Helena wants more. Financial records, witness testimony, a pattern of deception that goes beyond one relationship. Because this isn't just about Marcus. The text messages mentioned Tyler too, and who knows how many others Victoria has been networking with over the past months. She's not just having an affair, she's living a double life, and I've been too trusting or too stupid to see it. My phone buzzes. A text from Victoria. "Working very late tonight. Don't wait up. See you in the morning." I stare at the message for a long time. Then I type back, "Take your time. I'll be here when you're ready to come home." It's not a lie, exactly. I will be here when she comes home. But I won't be the same man she left behind, and our conversation won't be the one she's expecting. I finish my whiskey and drive home to my empty house, my workshop, and my plans for tomorrow. Victoria comes home at 7 the next morning, using her key quietly, probably hoping I'm still asleep. I'm in the kitchen with coffee and the local newspaper, looking like any other husband starting his day. "Morning," she says, slightly out of breath. "Sorry I'm so late. The Morrison case ran much longer than expected." She's wearing the same black dress from yesterday, now wrinkled. Her hair is mussed despite obvious attempts to fix it, and there's a faint mark on her neck that could be a bruise or could be something else entirely. "No problem," I say, not looking up from the paper. "Coffee's fresh." Victoria moves around the kitchen with nervous energy, grabbing a travel mug, checking her phone, avoiding eye contact. She's usually more composed than this, but spending the night at Marcus's apartment has rattled her routine. "I need to shower and change," she says. "Big day today." "Another deposition?" "Something like that." She pauses at the kitchen doorway, turns back to look at me. "Daniel, Are we okay? The question surprises me. Victoria doesn't usually ask for reassurance, doesn't typically worry about my feelings. But maybe guilt is starting to eat at her, or maybe she's picking up on some change in my behavior. We're fine, I say, meeting her eyes. Why wouldn't we be? She studies my face for a moment, as if she's looking for something specific. Whatever she sees, or doesn't see, seems to satisfy her. No reason, she says. Just checking. After she leaves for work, I call Helena. I have photos, I tell her. Clear evidence of the affair with Marcus Webb. Excellent. Bring them in this afternoon. We'll also need to discuss your financial situation. Charles mentioned you've started separating some assets. Some. Nothing dramatic yet. Good. We want to be strategic about this. How much does Victoria know about your finances? I think about our joint accounts, the house we bought together, the investments Charles has been managing. Victoria handles most of our day-to-day expenses, but she's never shown much interest in the bigger picture. She knows the basics, but Charles handles the details. She trusts me to manage the money. Helena's laugh is dry. That trust is about to become very expensive for her. Bring the photos and meet with Charles first. I want a complete financial picture before we make our next move. I spend the morning printing the photos from last night, each image sharp and undeniable. Victoria and Marcus together, intimate and comfortable, playing house while I sat at home like a fool. The evidence is damning, but Helena is right. We need more than one affair to build the strongest possible case. That means Tyler Brennan. Tyler is more complicated than Marcus. He doesn't work at Victoria's firm, so their relationship exists outside the normal boundaries of her professional life. According to the text messages, he's consulting on the Morrison case, but that feels like a convenient excuse rather than a legitimate business relationship. I need to understand who Tyler is, what he does, and how he fits into Victoria's secret life. A quick internet search reveals that Tyler Brennan works for Coastal Capital Management, a boutique investment firm that handles private wealth for high-net-worth individuals. His LinkedIn profile lists an MBA from Boston University and 5 years of experience in financial consulting. His company website features a professional headshot that matches the man I saw at lunch with Victoria. Confident, successful, expensive. Coastal Capital's client list isn't public, but their website mentions expertise in discrete wealth management for professionals and executives, the kind of firm that helps people hide money from spouses, business partners, or tax authorities. Interesting. I call Charles and ask him to research Coastal Capital, specifically their services and reputation. If Tyler is helping Victoria hide assets in preparation for divorce, that's something Helena needs to know about. I'll make some calls, Charles says. Tyler Brennan's name is familiar. I think he's been poaching clients from some of the established firms in town. Aggressive marketing, promises of higher returns, that sort of thing. Legitimate? Probably, but I'll check. Give me a few hours. That afternoon, I meet with Helena to review the photos and discuss strategy. She studies each image carefully, making notes about dates, times, and locations. This is good, she says. Clear evidence of an ongoing affair, documented over several hours. Marcus Webb won't be able to claim this was an isolated incident or a misunderstanding. What about Tyler Brennan? We need similar evidence for him. Photos, documentation of time spent together, financial records if possible. Helena leans back in her chair, tapping her pen against the legal pad. How often does Victoria see Tyler? I think about the text messages, the pattern of communication between them. At least once a week, sometimes more. Lunch meetings, evening consultations, weekend work sessions. All supposedly related to this Morrison case? That's what she says. Helena smiles that sharp smile again. Corporate cases don't require that much face-to-face consultation, especially not with outside financial advisors. We'll need to document their meetings and establish that the relationship goes beyond professional boundaries. How? The same way you documented Marcus: surveillance, photos, evidence of intimate behavior. She pauses. studies my expression. Are you prepared for what you might see, Daniel? These investigations can be emotionally difficult. I think about Victoria's smirk, about the months of lies, about the casual way she's been planning a future without me. I'm prepared, I say. That evening, Victoria comes home at her usual time, cheerful and relaxed. She's changed clothes since this morning, now wearing jeans and a sweater that I don't recognize. New clothes like the dress from yesterday, purchased with money from our joint account for occasions I'm not invited to. "How was your day?" she asks, kissing my cheek with the same perfunctory affection she's shown for months. "Productive. Finished Mrs. Henderson's dresser. How was the Morrison case?" "Complicated." She moves toward the refrigerator, pulls out ingredients for dinner. "Tyler thinks we might need additional financial analysis. He's suggesting we meet this weekend to go over the numbers." Tyler again. She says his name easily, naturally, as if mentioning weekend meetings with another man is perfectly normal. "This weekend?" "Saturday afternoon. His office, probably." She glances at me, gauging my reaction. "You don't mind, do you?" It's a test. She's pushing boundaries, seeing how much I'll accept, how far she can go before I object. A month ago, I might have complained, might have asked why she needs to work weekends, but that would have earned me another smirk, another dismissal of my concerns as jealousy. "Of course not," I say. "Work is work." Victoria nods, but I catch something in her expression, disappointment, maybe, or surprise, as if she expected me to object and is puzzled by my acceptance. "You're being very understanding lately," she says. "I'm trying to be supportive of your career." I appreciate that. She turns back to dinner preparation, but her movements are distracted now, her mind somewhere else. "Daniel, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you ever think about what you want? I mean really want, not just what you think you should want." The question catches me off guard. Victoria doesn't usually engage in philosophical discussions, doesn't typically worry about my inner life or personal desires. "Sometimes," I say carefully. "Why?" "I've been thinking about that lately, about what I want, what makes me happy." She's not looking at me, focusing instead on chopping vegetables with unnecessary precision. "Sometimes I wonder if we want the same things anymore." There it is, the opening, the crack in her facade that reveals what's really happening. Victoria isn't just having affairs, she's preparing to leave. This conversation is her way of testing the waters, seeing if I'll make it easy for her by admitting that our marriage isn't working. "What do you want, Victoria?" She pauses, the knife suspended over a carrot. For a moment, I think she might tell me the truth, might admit to the affairs and the lies, and the future she's planning with Tyler and Marcus. But then she shrugs, returns to chopping. "I don't know. That's the problem. When you figure it out, let me know." She looks up at me then, studying my face with that calculating expression I've learned to recognize. She's trying to read me, trying to understand if I suspect anything or if I'm just being supportive. "I will," she says finally. "I promise." It's a lie, of course. Victoria has already figured out what she wants. She wants Tyler's money and Marcus's attention and the excitement of living a double life. What she hasn't figured out is how to get those things without consequences. But consequences are coming, whether she's prepared for them or not. That night, after Victoria goes to bed, I sit in my workshop and plan my next move. Saturday afternoon, Tyler's office. Another opportunity to document the affair, to gather evidence that will make Victoria's betrayal undeniable. I clean the camera lens and check the battery. Tomorrow, I start building the case that will end my marriage and hopefully teach Victoria that dismissing people is a dangerous habit. Some lessons are more expensive than others. Saturday morning arrives gray and drizzling, typical Maine weather that matches my mood perfectly. Victoria is up early, spending extra time on her appearance, hair styled, makeup carefully applied, wearing a dress I've never seen before. Navy blue, professional but flattering, the kind of outfit that walks the line between business meeting and date. "You look nice," I say over coffee. "Thank you." She checks her reflection in the hallway mirror, adjusts an earring. Tyler's office is in that new building on Exchange Street. Very impressive. I'm sure it is. Victoria gathers her purse and a leather portfolio that looks expensive and new. Everything about her preparation suggests this is more than a business meeting, despite her carefully maintained pretense. "I'll probably be a few hours," she says. "The financial analysis is quite complex." "Take your time. I'll be working in the shop." She kisses my cheek, that same perfunctory gesture, and heads for the door. I wait 10 minutes, then follow. Coastal Capital Management occupies the top floor of a gleaming office tower downtown, the kind of building that screams success and charges rent accordingly. Tyler's Tesla is in the parking garage, along with Victoria's BMW. I park on the street with a clear view of the building entrance and settle in to wait. The morning passes slowly. I read the newspaper, drink coffee from a thermos, and watch people come and go from the office building. Normal Saturday foot traffic, a few dedicated workers, some tourists, couples heading to brunch. No sign of Victoria or Tyler. At noon, I decide to get a better view. The building across the street has a parking garage with multiple levels. I drive up to the 4th floor and find a spot with a direct line of sight to Tyler's office windows. Through the telephoto lens, I can see into the Coastal Capital offices. Modern furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of sleek design that suggests serious money. Tyler's office is corner suite, naturally, with a view of the harbor that probably adds 50% to his rent. And there they are. Victoria and Tyler are sitting at a small conference table, papers spread between them, laptops open. It looks like a legitimate business meeting, exactly what Victoria claimed it would be. For a moment, I wonder if I've been wrong, if my suspicions have twisted innocent professional relationships into something sinister. Then Tyler gets up to refill their coffee cups, and Victoria's entire demeanor changes. She relaxes, smiles, stretches like a cat in sunlight. When Tyler returns, he doesn't sit across from her. He sits beside her, close enough that their shoulders touch. Victoria leans into the contact, turns her face toward his, and they share a look that has nothing to do with financial analysis. I start taking photos. Tyler's hand rests on Victoria's shoulder as he points to something on her laptop screen. She covers his hand with hers, an intimate gesture that speaks of familiarity and affection. They're comfortable with each other, natural, like a couple who've been together for months rather than business associates meeting for the first time. The meeting continues for another hour, but the pretense of work gradually dissolves. They move from the conference table to Tyler's desk, then to the couch in his office seating area. Victoria kicks off her heels, curls her legs beneath her, completely at ease. Tyler sits beside her, arm around her shoulders, and they talk with the easy intimacy of lovers. At 2:00, Tyler gets up and closes the office blinds. I stop taking photos and sit back in my truck, hands shaking slightly. The closed blinds tell me everything I need to know about what's happening in that office, and I don't need photographic evidence of the details. What I have is enough. Clear documentation of an intimate relationship that goes far beyond professional consultation. I drive home and spend the afternoon printing photos and organizing evidence. The pictures from Tyler's office, combined with the images from Marcus's apartment, paint a clear picture of Victoria's double life. She's not just having an affair, she's juggling multiple relationships while maintaining the facade of a devoted wife. Helena is going to be very pleased. Victoria comes home at 6, looking satisfied and slightly disheveled. Her hair is mussed despite obvious attempts to fix it, and her lipstick is gone. She's carrying takeout from an expensive restaurant downtown. "How was the financial analysis?" I ask. "Exhausting," she says, but her smile suggests otherwise. "Tyler is very thorough. We made significant progress on the Morrison case. Good to hear. Victoria sets the takeout on the kitchen counter, pulls out containers of what looks like gourmet seafood. Tyler insisted on buying dinner. He said I worked so hard today that I deserved something special. Tyler bought her dinner, another small detail that transforms a business meeting into a date, another piece of evidence for Helena's case file. That was thoughtful of him. He's a thoughtful person. Victoria opens a bottle of wine. Expensive, probably chosen by Tyler. Very considerate, very attentive to details. She's practically glowing as she talks about him, animated in a way I haven't seen in months. This is how she used to talk about me back when we were dating, when I was the one who made her smile like that. He sounds like quite a guy, I say. He is. Victoria pauses, wine glass halfway to her lips, and looks at me with sudden intensity. Daniel, do you think people can change? I mean, really change, become completely different from who they used to be? The question feels loaded, significant. Victoria is building toward something, preparing for a conversation that will reshape our relationship permanently. I think people reveal who they really are, I say carefully. Sometimes we just don't see it at first. She nods slowly, as if my answer confirms something she's been thinking. That's very wise. Is there something you want to tell me, Victoria? For a moment, she looks uncertain, vulnerable. I can see her weighing options, considering how much truth she's ready to share. But then her phone buzzes with a text message, and the moment passes. She checks the phone, smiles at whatever she reads, and the mask slides back into place. Nothing important, she says. Just work stuff. But I can see the phone screen from where I'm sitting, can see Tyler's name at the top of the message. Whatever he wrote made her happy, made her forget about the serious conversation she was building toward. Victoria, I say, we should talk. About what? About us. About what you want. About where this marriage is going. She sets down her wine glass, studies my face with that calculating expression. What brought this on? You asked me about change, about people becoming different from who they used to be. I've been thinking about that too. And? I think you're right. People do change. Sometimes they grow apart, want different things, find happiness in places they didn't expect. Victoria nods slowly, but she's being careful now, testing each word before she speaks. That's true. So if someone in our situation, hypothetically, if someone realized they wanted something different, what would you think they should do? It's a careful dance, both of us approaching the truth without stating it directly. Victoria wants permission to leave, wants me to make it easy for her by admitting that our marriage isn't working. But she's not ready to confess to the affairs, not ready to admit how far her search for something different has already gone. Hypothetically, she says, I think they should be honest about what they want, what they need, what would make them happy. Even if honesty might hurt people? Sometimes honesty is the kindest thing, even when it's painful. I nod, as if I'm considering this philosophical discussion rather than planning her destruction. You're probably right. Victoria relaxes slightly, apparently satisfied that I'm open to the idea of marital change. She doesn't realize that I'm several steps ahead of her, that while she's been planning her exit strategy, I've been documenting her betrayal. Daniel, she says, I want you to know that whatever happens, I do care about you. You're a good man and you deserve to be happy. Thank you. You deserve to be happy too. She smiles, genuine warmth in her expression for the first time in months. I'm glad we can talk like this. It makes things easier. She thinks I'm going to roll over, going to accept whatever story she tells me about growing apart and wanting different things. She thinks she can rewrite history, paint our divorce as a mutual decision rather than the result of her systematic betrayal. I want things to be easy too, I say. Victoria's phone buzzes again, another message from Tyler, judging by her reaction. She glances at it, then at me, as if she's debating whether to check it now or wait until later. Go ahead, I say, if it's important. It's just Tyler. Probably something about Monday's meeting. Monday's meeting. Another business consultation. Another opportunity for them to be alone together. Victoria's calendar is apparently full of professional obligations that require intimate personal attention. You've been working with him quite a bit lately. The Morrison case is complex. Tyler's expertise is invaluable. Invaluable. I'm sure it is. Victoria checks her phone, types a quick response, then puts it aside. But I can see her distraction, can see how Tyler's messages pull her attention away from our conversation. I should let you get back to work, I say. Actually, I'm done for the night. Tyler just wanted to confirm our meeting time on Monday. What time? Lunch, probably at his office again. Victoria finishes her wine, starts clearing the takeout containers. This case should wrap up soon, and then things will calm down. Things will calm down. After the Morrison case ends, after Victoria figures out how to leave me without losing half our assets, after she transitions from secret affairs to open relationships, things will definitely calm down, just not the way she expects. I'm looking forward to that, I say. That night, Victoria goes to bed early, claiming exhaustion from her long day of financial analysis. I wait until I hear her breathing deepen, then I go downstairs to my workshop and call Helena's emergency number. I have what we need, I tell her. Photos of Victoria with Tyler Brennan, clear evidence of an intimate relationship. Combined with the Marcus Webb documentation, we can establish a pattern of adultery. Excellent. How soon can you bring me everything? Tomorrow morning. Perfect. I'll prepare the divorce papers and we can discuss timing. Daniel, are you ready for this to get complicated? I think about Victoria's smirk, about her casual dismissal of my concerns, about the months of lies and the future she's planning without me. I'm ready, I say. Good, because once we file these papers, there's no going back. Victoria will know that you know everything, and she'll fight back. Let her fight. I have the truth. Helena's laugh is sharp. The truth is a powerful weapon, but it's not the only one. Make sure you're prepared for whatever she throws at you. After I hang up, I sit in the quiet workshop, surrounded by tools and half-finished projects, and think about endings. Tomorrow, I'll give Helena the evidence that will destroy my marriage officially. But really, the marriage ended months ago, when Victoria decided that smirking at my concerns was easier than addressing them honestly. I'm just making it legal. Upstairs, Victoria sleeps peacefully, probably dreaming about Tyler or Marcus or whatever fantasy future she's constructing. She has no idea that her carefully planned exit strategy is about to become a legal nightmare, that the husband she dismissed as weak and jealous has been building a case against her. Tomorrow, everything changes. Tomorrow, Victoria learns that some people bite back when cornered. I'm looking forward to seeing her expression when she realizes that her smirk was premature. Monday morning, 9:47 a.m. Victoria is at her office, probably preparing for her lunch meeting with Tyler, when the process server arrives at Hartwell and Associates. I'm not there to see it, but Helena assures me that serving divorce papers at someone's workplace sends a very clear message about how seriously the petitioner takes the matter. I'm in my workshop, sanding the final coat on Mrs. Henderson's Victorian dresser, when my phone rings. Daniel. Victoria's voice is tight, controlled, but I can hear the shock underneath. We need to talk. About what? Don't play games. You know exactly what. I'm working, Victoria. Can this wait until tonight? There's a pause, and I can picture her standing in some conference room at her law firm, divorce papers in hand, trying to process how her carefully managed double life just exploded in public. No, she says finally. This can't wait. I'm coming home. Suit yourself. I'll be in the workshop. She hangs up without saying goodbye. I continue sanding, losing myself in the familiar rhythm of restoration. The dresser is beautiful now. Solid oak grain revealed, brass hardware gleaming, every drawer sliding smooth as silk. Mrs. Henderson will be pleased. Some things can be saved, made whole again, returned to their original beauty. Some things can't. Victoria's car pulls into the driveway 20 minutes later, tires crunching on gravel with more force than necessary. I hear the front door slam, hear her heels clicking across the hardwood floors, hear her calling my name with barely controlled fury. "Down here," I call back. She appears at the top of the basement stairs, still wearing her work clothes but looking disheveled, as if she drove home too fast and forgot to check her appearance. The divorce papers are clutched in her right hand like a weapon. "What the hell is this?" she demands, waving the papers. "Legal documents. I thought that would be obvious to someone in your profession." Victoria comes down the stairs, moving with predatory grace. Her face is flushed, her eyes bright with anger and something that might be fear. "Adultery, Daniel? You're accusing me of adultery?" "I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm stating facts supported by evidence." "Evidence?" She laughs, but there's no humor in it. "What evidence?" I set down the sandpaper, turned to face her fully. "Photos of you and Marcus Webb at his apartment, photos of you and Tyler Brennan at his office, text messages between you and both men, financial records showing cash withdrawals used to fund your affairs. Should I continue?" The color drains from Victoria's face. She stares at me as if she's seeing a stranger, as if the man she married has been replaced by someone she doesn't recognize. "You've been spying on me. I've been paying attention, finally. This is insane. Marcus and Tyler are friends, colleagues. Whatever you think you saw, I saw you spending the night at Marcus's apartment. I saw you in Tyler's office on Saturday, behaving like lovers, not business associates." I step closer, and Victoria actually takes a step back. "I saw you living a double life while treating me like a fool." "Daniel, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You've been planning to leave me for months, probably waiting until after the Morrison case wraps up so you can claim you need time to focus on your career. You've been consulting with Tyler about hiding assets, haven't you? Making sure you get the maximum settlement when you file for divorce." Victoria's mouth opens and closes, but no words come out. I've laid out her entire strategy, revealed that I know not just about the affairs, but about the financial planning, the exit strategy, the careful manipulation of our marriage's end. "The only thing I didn't understand," I continue, "was why you bothered to stay married while you were building relationships with other men. But I figured that out too. It's about money, isn't it? About positioning yourself for the best possible outcome in divorce proceedings. That's not," Victoria starts, then stops. Her legal training is kicking in, warning her not to admit anything, not to give me more ammunition than I already have. "It's not what? Not true? Not fair?" I pick up the sandpaper again, return to my work on the dresser. "You know what's not fair, Victoria? Dismissing your husband's concerns with a smirk. Treating legitimate questions like jealousy. Making someone feel crazy for noticing that their spouse has checked out of the marriage. I never meant for this to happen. Yes, you did. You planned every step, from the first lunch with Tyler to the overnight stays with Marcus. The only thing you didn't plan for was getting caught." Victoria sinks onto an old stool, the divorce papers crumpled in her lap. For the first time since I've known her, she looks defeated, uncertain. "What do you want?" she asks quietly. "I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I want you to realize that dismissing people is dangerous, especially when those people are paying attention. I mean legally. What do you want from the divorce?" I consider the question, thinking about Helena's advice, about asset protection and spousal support, and all the ways a bitter divorce can destroy both parties. "I want honesty," I say finally. "I want you to admit what you've done, publicly and legally. I want you to stop pretending this marriage failed because we grew apart or wanted different things. And financially? I want what's fair, what I've earned, what I've contributed, what I deserve after 8 years of marriage to someone who was planning her exit strategy while I was trying to make things work. Victoria nods slowly, as if she's calculating costs and benefits, weighing her options. The photos, she says. How long have you been taking photos? Long enough. Will you use them in court? If necessary, Helena thinks they make a compelling case for adultery, which affects property division under Maine law. Helena? Helena Blackwood, my attorney. I'm sure you know her reputation. Victoria's face goes pale again. Helena Blackwood is legendary in Maine family law circles, known for her aggressive tactics and high success rate. Having Helena as opposing counsel is every cheating spouse's nightmare. Daniel, please, can we work this out privately, without involving the courts, without making this public? That depends. On what? On whether you're finally ready to be honest. About the affairs, about the money, about what you really want. Victoria looks around the workshop, taking in the tools and projects that represent my life, my work, my identity. Everything she's been dismissing for months as small town, small-minded, insufficient. I do want something different, she says quietly. I have wanted something different for a long time. Such as excitement, success, the feeling that I'm building something important. She meets my eyes for the first time since coming downstairs. I felt trapped, Daniel, like I was living someone else's life. So you decided to live multiple lives instead. I know how it looks. I know I handled this badly. You handled it dishonestly. Yes. The admission seems to cost her something. I handled it dishonestly, and I'm sorry for that. It's not enough, not nearly enough, but it's more honesty than I've gotten from Victoria in months. What about Tyler and Marcus? What about them? Are you in love with them? With one of them? Is this about finding your soulmate, or is this about having your cake and eating it too? Victoria is quiet for a long time, considering the question. When she finally speaks, her voice is barely above a whisper. I don't know. I thought I knew, but now everything's so complicated. It's not complicated. You made choices, and now you're dealing with the consequences. What happens now? I set down the sandpaper again, brush dust from my hands. Now you decide how you want this to end. Quietly, with a negotiated settlement and minimal public exposure, or loudly, with court proceedings and photographic evidence and testimony from everyone who's been covering for your affairs. You'd really do that? Destroy my reputation, my career? You destroyed our marriage. I'm just documenting the damage. Victoria stands up, smooths her skirt, tries to regain some composure. But the mask is gone, the confident facade cracked beyond repair. I need time to think. You have until Friday to respond to the divorce petition. After that, Helena starts playing hardball. And if I agree to a settlement? If I admit to the adultery and don't fight the property division? Then we handle this like adults, instead of enemies. Victoria nods, starts toward the stairs, then turns back. Daniel, for what it's worth, I really am sorry. You deserved better than this. Yes, I say. I did. She climbs the stairs, and I hear her moving around upstairs, probably packing clothes, gathering personal items. An hour later, her car pulls out of the driveway, and I'm alone in the house we bought together, surrounded by the life we built, and she abandoned. I return to the Victorian dresser, running my hands over the smooth wood, admiring the craftsmanship that survived decades of neglect and abuse. With patience and skill, damaged things can be restored, made beautiful again. Some things, anyway. My phone buzzes with a text from Helena. Victoria's attorney called. They want to negotiate. Looks like your evidence was persuasive. I smile, remembering Victoria's smirk from that night in the kitchen, remembering her casual dismissal of my concerns about her guy friends. She thought she was so clever, so sophisticated, so far ahead of her simple husband, who worked with his hands and worried about things that didn't matter. Turns out, some things matter more than she realized. I pick up the sandpaper and get back to work. Mrs. Henderson's dresser won't restore itself, and I have a reputation for finishing what I start.